Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Open Monogamy, a guide to co-creating your ideal relationship agreement by Tammy Nelson, Ph.D. Narrated by Callie Beaulieu. Note to listeners. This book applies to all couples and individuals, heterosexual and LGBTQIA+, and to all races and cultures. It is written referring to the pronouns he/she and they. All references to male/female or men/women should be taken with the intent to describe the people interviewed or described as referenced. Yet each scenario should be applied to your own personal situation as it fits, inasmuch as you can take what is said here and make it useful to your own life. Open monogamy is inclusive by nature. There is no intent here to harm or leave out any group, gender, orientation, race, or economic class. That said, privilege, inequality, and exclusion show up here just as they do in the overall culture. Also inherent in this book is the idea of couple privilege. Couple privilege means that the couple has more privileges in our society than the single individual. This is not argued for or against, but rather acknowledged as our predominant cultural model. I have used the term marriage to describe a couple who considers themselves primary partners. The couple may or may not be living together or legally married. This is a book about partnership and expanding the definition of relationship. It is intended as a guide for two people who are committed and want to open their relationship to other people on some level, in some way. In open monogamy, the primary relationship comes first. This arrangement is only one point on the monogamy continuum. Whether you decide to keep your partnership closed or find yourselves embracing relationship anarchy, you will find the tools here to do it together. Take what works and leave the rest. Please take all of the content of this book in the spirit it is intended, to help, to support, and to send love to all who need it. Introduction. The relationship of your dreams. You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. Thich Nhat Hanh. What if you could have everything you wanted in a relationship? What is the marriage of your dreams? Does it include love, passion, and openness without dishonesty or indiscretion? If you could be madly in love with your spouse and explore outside relationships, would you do it? If you could stay together in a comforting, warm, connected, and attached partnership without jealousy or fear, and still explore sex outside your marriage, would you want to do that? And would you want your partner to explore those options? What if you had the sex life of your dreams, sharing your desires and fantasies honestly with your partner, opening up in the most vulnerable way about the things you need and want and the things that turn you on? Could you share your erotic life with others? What else would you include in the relationship of your dreams? What would you add if you could have it all? How far are you from that ideal? Does the possibility of having everything you want feel realistic or more like a dream? Are these your relationship goals? Are they attainable? Why can't you have all of these things? What is the belief system you have that might be holding you back? Are you afraid that if you ask for what you need, your partner will be angry, fearful, turn away from you, reject you? Maybe they'll feel jealous or hurt. Perhaps there will be tears or arguments. If you want a more open monogamy but you stifle that desire, don't tell your partner and keep it to yourself, what will happen? Is that a better choice? Is it a better choice to stay locked into a marriage that makes you feel trapped, unhappy, or stifled? What if you could have everything you want, and more? Humans are unique, diverse, and distinctive. We don't all want the same thing. What a boring life we would all lead if we did. There are some things, however, that all of us want. We want to be heard, validated, and understood in a relationship. We want our relationships free from conflict. Not only do we want to avoid conflict with our partner, but we want to avoid our own internal moral conflict that comes from shame, guilt, and the pressure of doing what we think is wrong. We want freedom and security at the same time. We struggle perpetually for safety and for adventure, for exploration and for comfort. These conflicting desires are common to us all. In many relationships, there is what I call a monogamy gap. Couples disagree on the level of openness in their monogamy. This may be caused by a lack of communication, lack of experience, or simply lack of trying. The monogamy gap can lead to conflict, resentment, and for some couples, ultimately separation. Before you get to the catastrophic step of ending your relationship, it's worth it to talk things through to see what kind of changes you can make to your lives. When done right, open monogamy can work. It may be worth it for you to take some chances rather than ending your relationship for good. Open monogamy is a form of relationship based on love, commitment, and a desire for honesty and transparency. People in open monogamy relationships value their partner's feelings and have a desire for freedom. They want connection, and they sense that their committed partnership could contain more joy, more excitement. They are not held down by their monogamy, but rather woken up by it. It helps them to expand and grow as individuals as well as partners. They support each other in exploring their needs and desires. They work through the fears and insecurities that naturally come up in any relationship and minimize them when they become conflicts. John and Julie Gottman, researchers and couples therapists, studied 30 couples for 3 years in their Love Lab, an apartment laboratory where they watched couples' interactions on video cameras. They found in their research that it is not the amount of conflict that makes for a successful couple, but the attempts to repair the conflict. They found that couples who were successful at repairing were emotional, vulnerable, and understanding, and validated one another's feelings. The most powerful conversations began gently, and each partner took responsibility for their part of the problem, working collaboratively. They paid attention when the other had something to say and listened when their partner was upset. This may seem obvious to some, that having a healthy relationship takes communication and listening, validation and responsibility. But if you've ever been married, you know it's harder than it appears. In an open monogamy, the agreement is not based solely on the desires of one partner. Contrary to the idea that a happy marriage is a well-negotiated quid pro quo arrangement, couples do better when their agreement is based on mutual self-interest. Open monogamy is not the continuation of an affair, nor is it the negotiation of sex outside the relationship in a way that feels threatening or unsafe to the other partner. Open monogamy starts with curiosity, conversations, and a discourse on personal boundaries. The work of making what was implicit explicit is less about having lots of sex parties and more about creating intimacy.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?